Good morning. Welcome to the lecture series of operating system. In today's class, we try to discuss about the contiguous memory allocation. Already we know that the contiguous memory allocation is one of the easiest memory allocation for the different processes. So already we know that main memory support both operating system and user process. So already in the previous slides, previous class we discussed, actually the main memory is that is nothing but the RAM. In that main memory, some portion is allocated for the operating system, and the remaining portion is considered as the user space. In that user space, we are able to allocate the memory for the different processes. So automatically, the limited resources must allocate efficient. So the contiguous memory allocation is if the system is having the limited resources, must allocate efficiently. And the contiguous allocation is one early method. It is in the early days they are using the contiguous memory allocation, but the contiguous memory allocation is having the limitation, fragmentation. To overcome that one, they go for the segmentation. Again, the segmentation is also be having some limitation. To overcome that one, they go for the demand paging techniques. So the contiguous memory allocation is the early method, and it is the easiest method to allocate the memory to the particular process. So already we know that main memory is usually two partitions. One is the operating system and another one is the user space. So the operating system usually held in the lower memory within the interrupt. So automatically here we are assuming that the lower memory, what is the meaning of the lower memory? We are assuming this is the total space is available. In that one, the first partition, that is started with the zeros, that portion is allocated to the operating system, and the remaining is allocated for the user processes. And user process then held the high memory, and each process contained in a single contiguous section of memory. What is the meaning of the contiguous memory allocation? If the process size is the 10 MB, contiguous 10 MB memory allocated to the particular process, or the process size is the 4 KB, 4 KB contiguous memory allocated. Based on the process size, that much of contiguous memory is allocated. So what is the advantage of the contiguous memory allocation is, it is very easy to calculate the physical address, because once we know the relocation register or the base address, that is the starting address of the particular process, we simply add the logical address to the starting address of the particular process, that is the limit base register or the relocation register value. Then we are able to get the physical address. So automatically the contiguous memory allocation is very easy to calculate the physical address from the logical address. That is, implementation is very easy, but the limitation is there is a possibility of the fragmentation. We will discuss those in the next slides. So here the relocation register used to protect user processes from each other and from changing the operating system code and data. That is nothing but here they clearly using the limit register and the relocation register. The relocation register holds the starting address of the particular process, and we are able to know the relocation register is a fixed based on the memory allocation, and we simply added the logical address. If the logical address is a valid one, it simply allowed, the process is allowed to access only the memory allocated to the particular process only. So automatically using the relocation register, it is not possible to, the process is not possible to access the operating system's data or the instruction. That in that way it simply provides the protection. Base register contains the values of the smallest physical addresses. And next we discussed about the limit register. What is the limit register? It holds the size of the particular process. The limit register contains the range of logical addresses. Each logical address must be in the less than the limit register only. That is nothing but what is the user space is allocated to the particular process. For example, the process is allocated to the 1024 memory locations. Then the limit register value is 1024. These value logical addresses are ranges from the 0 to the 1023 only. So automatically all the logical addresses must be less than the limit register only. And memory management unit maps the logical address dynamically. How it is maps the logical address to the physical address? Simply add the logical address to the relocation register value. It simply get the physical address, it is simply calculated dynamically and can then allow the actions such as the kernel code being transient and kernel. So here they try to explain about the hardware support for the relocation and limit registers. So already we know that CPU generates the logical address. So the CPU simply generates the logical address. The logical address is nothing but based on the beginning of the program. What is the address of the particular instruction or the data? It is generated by the processor. And once the logical address is generated, it simply compared with the limit register. That is nothing but if the logical address is less than the limit register, then directly allowed to the next step. If it is no, that is nothing but the logical address is greater than the limit register, greater than or equal to the limit register. So automatically it gives the address error is, if the logical address is greater than or equal to the limit register, it is an error. So automatically addressing error is simply generated. So it is not allowed to access the particular physical address. If the logical address is less than the limit register, then it simply takes the relocation register value, that is nothing but the starting address of the particular process, and the logical address is added to the relocation register. It generates the physical address and it simply access the physical location. So this is the how the memory management unit is convert from the logical address to the physical address is explained. And next we try to discuss about the multiple partition allocation. What is the meaning of the multiple partition allocation? For example, we need to load the more than one process. For example, we need to load the P1, P2, P3. Some memory location is allocated to P1 and some memory location is allocated to P2 and some memory location is allocated to P3. So P1, one memory location, that is one partition. P2 another memory location, that is another partition, and P3. So automatically if the operating system support the multi-programming, more than one program is allowed to load into the primary memory, and we are assuming that it is follows the contiguous memory allocation, then automatically multiple partitions are generated. Each partition is allocated to the one process. So automatically in the multiple partition allocation, degree of multiprogramming limited by number of partitions. What is the degree of multiprogramming? At any instant of time, how many number of processes are allowed to load into the primary memory? We are assuming that the user space is divided into the 10 partitions, then at maximum we are allowed to load to the 10 processes only into the primary memory. For that reason, the degree of multiprogramming limited by the number of partitions. What is the partition? How many number of partitions we divide the user space, that is represented as the number of partitions. Each partition is allocated to one process. So based on the number of partitions, number of processes are allowed to load into the primary memory depends. For example, the number of partitions is 10. At maximum we are allowed to load the 10 processes into the primary memory. Then the degree of multiprogramming is equal to the 10 only. I hope you are able to understand what is the degree of multiprogramming. That is nothing but the at any instant of time how many number of maximum processes are allowed to load into the primary memory, that is represented as the degree of multiprogramming. It simply depends on the number of partitions are available on the user space. And here one more important one is these partitions is also with the variable partitions or the fixed size partitions. For example, whenever we go for the paging technique, the primary memory is divided into the fixed size partitions. Those are called as the frames. Those will be discussed in the paging technique. But here our requirement is what is the limitation of the fixed size partition. For example, we are assuming that our space is the 1000 MB and each we divided into the 10 partitions and each partition size is the 100 MB. And what is the limitation of that one? It is possible to load a process, its size is less than or equal to 100 MB. We need to run a process, its size is 150 MB. It is not possible to load any one of the partition. That is the limitation. For that reason, the operating system is, whenever they are using the contiguous memory allocation, they go for the variable partition size for efficiency, for effective utilization of the process. Example is, for example, we are assuming that the maximum possible process size is the 500 MB and the total user space is the 1000 MB. Whenever we go for the fixed partition, we need to divide into only the two partitions only. For example, user want to run a process, its size is the 10 MB. Then they are allocated the 500 MB partition, 490 MB is wasted. To overcome that and for better effective utilization of the user space, variable partition size is the efficient utilization of the memory space. And next one is hole. Here in the contiguous memory allocation, we are using a word is called as a hole. What is a hole? Hole is nothing but if there is a free space is available that is not allocated to any other process, that partition is called as a hole. That is a block of available memory. Holes of various sizes are scattered throughout the memory. That is, these are available in the different memory location. I will explain with one example. So, for example, we are assuming that now we try to discuss about the hole. Hole is nothing but the available free space in the primary memory is called as a hole. That is nothing but the block of available memory. Holes of various sizes are scattered throughout the memory. Now we try to discuss why the holes are scattered throughout the memory. We discuss with an example. We are assuming that initially this is the total primary memory and this portion is allocated to the operating system, and we are assuming that this is the total 1748 free space is available. So, what is the how many holes are existing? Only one hole, and its size is the 1748. We are assuming that P1 process, its size is the 100 MB, and what is the remaining free space? Now in that case, its size is only available is the 1648. Now we are assuming that P2 process requires the memory and its size is equal to the 200 MB. And what is the free space is available? 1468. Now we are assuming that P3 process, it requires the 300 memory. Then automatically the free space is available is the automatically 600 is occupied. So automatically this space is available is the 1148. Now we are assuming that P2 process is completed execution and released the memory. So automatically this one is also be the free space. So we are assuming that P1 is complete, P2 is completed. Now we are assuming that P2 already occupied the 200 MB and P2 process is completed its execution and released the memory. Now there is a 200 MB free space is available. This is the 200 MB and the remaining already we are assuming the total is the 400 or total 600. This is the 1148 free space is available. For example, after some time P5 process is arrived and its size is the 500 MB. This 200 MB is not sufficient and again allocated the 500 MB. So automatically P5 is allocated. So automatically there are the two free spaces is available. So based on the execution, so automatically once the process is releases the memory, automatically a free hole is generated. We are assuming that after some time P1 is completed its execution and released the memory, then automatically it is also be released. So if whenever a process release the memory, it simply verifies is there any free space is available adjacent, those are merged. So automatically this entire one is merged as the free space. Its size is equal to the 300 MB. So I hope you are able to understand. Hole is nothing but a block of available memory. That is the free space is available in the primary memory. Holes of various sizes are scattered throughout the memory because all are not having the fixed size. In this example, the previous it is 200 and P1 is released the memory, then the whole size is equal to the 300 MB, and similarly here the availability is the 1148 MB free space is available. And when a process arrives, it is allocated memory from a hole large enough to accommodate it. For example, that is nothing but a new process arrives, its size is equal to the 600 MB. So the operating system verifies where the 600 MB contiguous free space is available. In that location only it is possible to allocate. For example, in this example, a 300 MB free space is available, that is not possible to allocate a process, its size is more than 300 MB. For that reason, when a process arrives, the operating system allocated a memory from a hole larger enough to the accommodate, that is whatever the required process required memory size, more than size hole only it is possible to allocate. And process existing Example, in the previous example, once the P1 process is released in the memory, so P1 adjacent 200 MB free space is available, that is also be merged. That is nothing but a process exiting frees its partition and adjacent free partitions also be combined. That is nothing but once the process is completed its execution, it simply releases the memory. Once the memory is released, automatically a hole is generated. If adjacent free space is available, this free space is also be added to the existing free spaces. So automatically the merging is also be done whenever there is an adjacent partition free space is existing. So I hope you are able to understand what is the contiguous memory allocation. That is nothing but whenever a process requires, for example, the process size is the 500 MB, 500 MB contiguous space must be allocated to the particular process. For that reason, the operating system maintains the free space information. Every free space is represented as a hole, and these holes are also be having the different sizes, and these are also be scattered into the different locations. And similarly, whenever a new process arrives, how the memory is allocated, the operating system must allocate a hole or the free space. Its size must be more than or equal to the required process size. If it is the whole size is less than the required process size, it is not possible to copy the entire process in the allocated memory. For that reason, it must be allocated more than the or equal to the space. And once the process completed its execution, it simply releases the memory. That is, a hole is generated. If the adjacent also free space is available, this free space is merged with the adjacent available free spaces. So I hope you are able to understand this slide. And next one is, they try to explain about the multiple partition allocation. One simple example is given. The operating system maintains the information about allocated partitions, and another one is the pre-partitions. Initially we are assuming that this is the primary memory, and this portion is allocated to the operating system. This portion is allocated to the operating system, and next one is some portion is allocated to the process 5, and this is the process 8 and process 2. Now is there any free hole is available in this one? Because the entire user space is divided into the 3 partitions. One partition is allocated to process 5, and another partition is allocated to process 8, and another partition is allocated to process 2. There is no hole is available in this example. After some time, process 8 is completed its execution and released the memory. Then there is a hole is generated. Is it clear? For example, process 8 is completed its operation and released the memory. Then a hole is generated, and operating system is one part, it is a fixed one, and user space is having the 3 partitions. One is allocated to process 2, and another one is allocated to process 5, and there is a hole or the free space is available. After some time, a new process is arrived, process 9. Its size is less than this space. Then automatically this memory is divided into the 2 partitions. One is allocated to the process 9, and there is, so automatically how many partitions are existing? 4 partitions. That is, dynamically the number of partitions are increases or decreases. After some time, a new process arrives, process 10. Then automatically this one is also be the divided into the 2 partitions. So whatever the memory required, that is allocated to the process 10, and there is a free space is available. Now in this case, there are the total 5 partitions are allocated. One is the free hole, and the remaining are allocated to the process 2, 5, 9 and 10. For example, we are assuming that all the process 5, 9, 10 are completed its execution and releases the memory. Then automatically this entire one is the free space hole, and the process 2 is existing. So I hope you are able to understand how the multiple partition allocation is done. And next we try to discuss about the, for example, there are n number of partitions are free holes are available, and how the memory is allocated, which partition need to be allocated to the newly arrived process. That is the how to satisfy the request of a size n from a list of free holes are available. That is, we are assuming that a new process is arrived. The process size is the n. It may be the n MB, and then automatically how the which free hole is allocated to the particular process is, there are the different approaches are available, and we try to discuss about the each and every approach with the advantages and the disadvantages. The first approach is the first fit. second one is the best fit, and the third one is the worst fit. So the first fit, the name itself indicates that if there are the n number of processes arrives, its size is the n MB, and there are the m number of free holes are available. In those free holes, first we need to identify how many number of free holes its size is greater than or equal to the whatever the free holes are available. In those free holes, in the first fit, first we are verifying the first free hole. If the first free hole is size is more than n, then we directly allocate. So automatically no need to bother about the remaining. First we compare with the first free hole is available. If its size is more than n, we directly allocate. If the size of the first free hole is less than n, it is not possible to allocate that free hole to the process size is n, then it go to the second free hole. In that way, which one is satisfies the size more than n, that one is allocated. That is, allocate the first hole that is big enough to the process size is n. And next one is the best fit. What is the meaning of the best fit? The name itself indicates that allocate the smallest hole that is big enough. What is the meaning of that? For example, we are assuming that the process size is 10 MB. We are having the free holes 8 MB, another one is the 11 MB, and another one is the 15 MB, and another one is the 10.1 MB. So in these 4 free holes, one is the 8 MB, that is not sufficient for the required process size is the 10 MB. So we are unable to allocate. And the remaining is the one is the 11 MB, and another one is the 15 MB, and another one is the 10.1 MB. In these 3, which one is the smallest one? 10.1 MB is the smallest, but that is enough to run the 10 MB process. That one is called as the best fit. So that is the best fit algorithm. Must search the entire list. So what is the requirement? Whenever we need to use the best fit algorithm, we need to search all the available free holes. And which one is the smallest one, and it is greater than or equal to the required process size. Unless orderly, so automatic if they are not mentioned in the ordered, then we need to search the entire one. So that is the requirement. Already the free holes are mentioned in the order, then automatically we are able to find. For example, the free holes are mentioned in the 8 MB, 10.1 MB, and 11 MB, and 15 MB. Directly we go to the first one is not sufficient, directly we go to the second one. So that is the best fit algorithm. And the third one is the worst fit. The name itself indicates that here they clearly allocate the largest hole. Must also set, so what is the, in this example, the process size is the 10 MB, and the free holes are available is the 8 MB, 11 MB, 15 MB, and 10.1 MB. In this one, the maximum free hole is the 15 MB. Directly we allocate the, take the 15 MB, and that 15 MB is divided into the 2 partitions. One is the 10 MB, and another one is the 5 MB. 10 MB is allocated to the process, and generate a free hole, its size is the 5 MB. So that is the best fit algorithm. In the previous one, 10.1 is allocated, then automatically 10 MB is allocated, only the generated a free hole, its size is the 0.1 MB. So what is the disadvantage of the best fit algorithm? It simply generates a free hole that is not sufficient to any other process. That is the limitation. And whenever we go for the worst fit, it generates the 5 MB. There may be the possibility some other process, its size is 5 MB, it is possible to utilize. That is the advantage of the worst fit. But what is the disadvantage of the worst fit? Every time we are dividing the largest partition only. Then automatically after some time, there is a need of the very lengthy process is required. At that time, it is very difficult to identify. So every algorithm, either it may be the best fit or the first fit or the worst fit, everyone is having the advantages and the disadvantages. What is the advantage of the first fit? No need to search entire free space list. It is started from the beginning. It simply verifies the first free hole. If it is more than enough for the required process, directly it is allocated. If it is not enough, it go to the next free hole, next one, and so that is whenever the first free hole is sufficient, directly the memory is allocated. No need to search the entire list. The remaining to the best fit and the worst fit, we need to set the entire free list. in the best fit we try to identify the smallest free hole that is enough to the required process size. Example is we need the 10 MB process, but the available free spaces is the 8 MB, 10.1 MB, 11 MB, 15 MB. In that case it chooses the 10.1 because the smallest one and greater than or equal to the 10 MB. And the worst fit is it simply identifies the largest free hole. In this example 15 MB is the largest one. In that 15 MB, again divide partition into the two partitions. 10 MB is allocated to the process and generated a free hole. Its size is the 5 MB. I hope you understand these three algorithms: first fit, best fit and worst fit. That is, whenever in the contiguous memory allocation, whenever a new process arrives, which free hole is identified is based on these algorithms. Now we try to discuss about the fragmentation. So in the contiguous memory allocation, there is the problem is the fragmentation. So what is the fragmentation is also be classified into the two categories. One is the internal fragmentation and another one is the external fragmentation. First of all, what is the fragmentation is, if there is the memory is available but we are unable to use that memory, that is called as a fragmentation. Here we try to discuss about the internal fragmentation. That is, the allocated memory may be slightly larger than the requested memory. Example is, for example, we are assuming that there is the free, in the previous example we need to use the 10 MB free space because we need a process, its size is 10 MB, but the available free hole is in the first fit 10.1 MB is identified. In that 10.1 MB, we again divided into the two partitions, 10 MB and 0.1 MB. But the 0.1 MB is not useful to any other processes. Instead of performing the partition, we directly allocate the 10.1 MB to the particular process. So that is, we are allocating a memory that is more than the required one. That is, somehow the memory is allocated to the particular process. It is not utilized. That is considered as the internal fragmentation. Example is, the operating system allocated the 10.1 MB to the particular process, but the process required is only 10 MB. Whatever the 0.1 MB is allocated, it is not utilized by the particular process. That is called as the internal fragmentation. Allocated memory may be slightly larger than the requested memory. This size difference is memory internal to a partition but not being used. That is the internal fragmentation. Example is, the first fit analysis reveals that given n blocks, allocated 0.5 n blocks lost to the fragmentation. 1/3 of may be unusable, 50% rule. So that is one of the internal fragmentation they try to explain. And next one is the external fragmentation. And what is an external fragmentation? Whenever we are using some memory allocation technique, after some time there are the free holes are available, but these are available in the different locations. We are assuming that we take one simple example. This is the example we considered. This portion is allocated to operating system, and here this assumption is the 10 MB free space, and it is allocated to P1, and here the 50 MB free space, and next one it is allocated to P2, and next it is the 100 MB free space, and next one is allocated to P3, next it is the 400 MB. So we are assuming that there are the three processes in the primary memory, P1, P2, P3, and the total 4 free holes are available. One is 10 MB, another one is the 50 MB, another one is the 100 MB, and another one is the 400 MB. What is the total free space is available? 400 plus 100, 500, 560 MB free space is available. So total free space is available is the 560 MB. We are assuming that a process is arrived, its size is equal to only the 405 MB. Its size is equal to 405 MB. Using the contiguous memory allocation, is it possible to allocate? We need to allocate the total 405 contiguous memory, but the total free space is available is the 560 MB. But these free holes are scattered into the different locations. That one is called as the external fragmentation. So we try to discuss the definition. Total memory space existing to satisfy the request, but it is not contiguous. There are the free holes are available in the different locations. Their total space is more than the required process. Example is the total 560 MB free space is available, but we need only the 405 MB. But that 405 MB contiguous free space is not available. It is not possible to allocate the memory to the particular process. That one is called as the external fragmentation. So what is the fragmentation? The memory is not utilized. That is called as the fragmentation. There are the two types of fragmentation. One is the internal fragmentation and another one is the external fragmentation. The internal fragmentation clearly says that the memory is allocated to the particular process, but the process is not utilized. The example is, we are assuming that a process size is the 10 MB, but the available in the first fit algorithm, it identifies the 10.1 MB free space is available. That 0.1 MB, if we are partition and only 10 MB is allocated, that 0.1 is not utilized. Instead of partitioning, we allocate the total 10.1 MB, then automatically internal fragmentation is possible to eliminate. So I hope, so we are allocated the 10.1 MB to the process, then the internal fragmentation problem is generated. But why they prefer the internal fragmentation is to perform the partition and merging is also be the overhead. So generally the internal fragmentation is existing. And what is the external fragmentation? The name itself indicates that whatever the required free space is available, but this free space is available into the different locations. So automatically it is not possible to allocate. Example we consider as an operating system is consisting of the 400 MB, 10 MB free space, P1 process, 50 MB free space, and P2 process, 100 MB free space, P3 process. Later there is the 400 MB is available. Total free space is available is the 560 MB. A new process P4 is arrived. Its size is equal to the 405 MB. It is not possible to allocate the memory because the total free space is 560, but there is no contiguous memory of the 405. So it is not possible to allocate. That problem is called as the external fragmentation. So automatically to reduce the external fragmentation by compaction. What is the meaning of the compaction? It is nothing but the shuffle the memory contents to place all free memory together in the large block. So using the compaction, for example, all these P1, P2, P3 are moved one side. That is P1 is moved in the beginning. That is after applying the compaction, automatically P1 is occupied here, followed by P2, followed by P3. Then automatically 560 MB free space is generated. Then 405 is allocated to the P4, and the remaining automatic free space is equal to the 155 MB free space is existing. That is using the compaction. That is we are able to move the processes is one side to generate a contiguous free space. Then using that contiguous free space, it is possible to allocate it to the another process. So automatically we are able to eliminate the external fragmentation by using the compaction. Compaction is possible only if relocation is dynamic and is done at the execution time. For example, some of the cases, example is at the time of the compilation, that is the binding is done at the compilation time, or the loading time, that is the relocation is not possible, then automatically it is not possible to apply the compaction. If the address binding is done dynamically, then only the compaction is possible to implement. And another problem is the IO problem is latch job memory while it is involved in the IO only into OS buffers only. So this is the brief explanation about the contiguous memory allocation. So in today's class we discussed about what is the contiguous memory allocation. That is nothing but based on the processes the contiguous memory is allocated. So automatically what is the advantage of the contiguous memory allocation? Automatically it is very easy to calculate the logical address to the physical address. We simply add the logical address to the base register or the relocation register to get the physical address. So the memory management unit implementation is very easy if you go for the contiguous memory allocation. But what are the limitations of the contiguous memory allocation is, if the process size is around equal to the 500 MB, but entire one is not used at a time. So automatically unnecessarily we are allocating the 500 MB to the one process only. So memory utilization is very less once we go for the contiguous memory allocation, and also automatically degree of multiprogramming is also be reduced. To improve the degree of multiprogramming, what is the degree of multiprogramming? How many number of processes are loaded into the primary memory? To increase that one, they are proposed the segmentation, and another one is the paging concept. In the next classes we will discuss about the segmentation and demand paging techniques. Thank you.